It's time to get picking for our Kickstarter Pickstarters for the week of May 14th, 2018.
We're getting historical with Lincoln from PSC Games. This is another Martin Wallace joint, and it is a two-player head-to-head game that recreates the Civil War, one side being the North, the other the South. And you are playing cards in order to move troops around the board, as well as attack and combat your opponent. Although there is no dice rolling involved, it's purely based on cards. And one really interesting mechanic about this game is that every time you reshuffle your deck, you are going to actually be adding new cards into it. So there's a set of Act 1 cards and Act 2 cards that come in once you run through your deck for the first and second times. And the way that it works is for the Union, their deck actually gets stronger as time goes on, whereas the South, their deck gets weaker as time goes on. So there's a dynamic of where one team kind of has to concentrate on the early game versus the late game, which I think is really cool. And it's a Lincoln game from Martin Wallace. It kind of reminded me of it looks Twilight Struggle-esque. Looks like something that GMT would publish. That kind of historical two-player game. Another thing that I thought was neat about it that I don't see that often in games, but I feel like is like a no-brainer, is on the board some numbers are upside down. So if they're only relevant to the other team, so they have a look at it, which I thought was cool. I don't think I've seen that in a game anywhere else before. My one complaint is like, why is it called Lincoln? It should be called Civil War or something. It's not really, I mean, I get it. Clearly Lincoln is an important figure, but it's not like you're playing as Lincoln.
No, it's because the special Kickstarter stretch goals are Lincoln logs.
Now I get it. Anyway, this one goes for $38. It's Lincoln.
From Lega Nerd, we get King of Kong, a fun, interesting set collection game. In this game, you are all nerds in a convention trying to collect sort of different items and have plenty of impulse buys in order to prove you have the best set. In this game, you're going to actually have different items put out that have either different conditions, if they're fantasy, sci-fi, what genre they belong in, as well as other attributes. And then you'll be secretly bidding on which ones you want. And if you do tie on them, you actually all have priority cards. But if you have the high priority, you have to give your priority to the loser in order to win that item. Then you'll also be buying cards by either making them more expensive or being able to buy them off other people. In addition, you have secret goals, like you're obviously just like everyone else, you might be more of a sci-fi person, or maybe you really want all the fantasy stuff. In the end, you get points based on your collection. I thought it was really cool and has a lot of, obviously the cards aren't to avoid getting sued, but have those little fun things like one looks like Gundam, one looks like Darth Vader's helmet and stuff.
Mm-hmm. It kind of sounds like the game Shade Dork a little bit. Remember
I
that?
have not played that, so maybe
I thought we played that with you the one time.
I was gone that game night.
Yeah, it wasn't a game we enjoyed at all. So hopefully this one's better. Good concept, good premise. Yeah. I actually thought it was about con artists, just from the title. It went in a different direction.
Though I guess in some ways you can say, yeah, this is totally expensive, and then maybe there'll be like special expansion. You bought a third-party Chinese knockoff.
That'll be it. Yeah, that's what they should do.
But this goes for $30. If you are a big fan of that whole convention and collecting lots of nerd stuff, this may be something you want to take a look at.
Next, we take a trip down Penny Lane from Sparkworks. This is a worker placement game where you're all trying to build your own cute little lane, and you're going to get points based on which buildings you're able to buy from the center. They're all different cards, and you arrange them into sort of a street or lane, if you will. And you also can be rewarded for having certain building types next to each other, or for getting workers, which you can hire, and you actually want to employ them at the different buildings that you have. So you might get a cinema or a museum on your street, and you can pay to have those workers employed there. You'll get more points for more workers, etc. This just seemed like a fun, simple worker placement game. Kind of reminded me of Harbor in the way that you could get buildings for yourself and purchase them for yourself, and nobody else could use them. As far as I know, maybe there are special cards in there I don't know about that let you use them, which is something also that was in Harbor. And, since Ticket to Ride was such a hit, it seems like games named after Beatles songs is the way to go. I think we should see more of these.
I was waiting for you to mention something about that.
And that was it. So if you want to go to Penny Lane, it's got a cute art style too. It's for $22 only on Kickstarter.
For all those out there who love a good puzzle, Journal 29 Revelation might be the one for you. This is actually a sequel to Journal 29, and it is a book that uses an app and as well as your own mind to solve a whole bunch of puzzles. Each puzzle will require you to think outside the box and do a lot of weird stuff, maybe sometimes fold things, maybe try to solve a code, and then you'll put it into the app or maybe even use the app, and then if you get it right, you'll get a key that you'll need for the next puzzle. So it's sort of all built on top of themselves, has all these cool drawings and stuff. To me, that sounded like really awesome. We're both big fans of locked rooms, so this seems like that kind of process that we'd both love. It only goes for $19, so definitely really nice price, I think.
When I looked at it, it reminded me of like a book from Myst.
Yeah, exactly.
Like with the app, it almost seems like it's kind of alive in a way. I don't know if that's quite the gimmick they're going for, but it seems neat.
Yeah, this comes from Rain Projects. Seems like such a cool thing. I came across it accidentally, like not through our normal way of going through. It was like through an email. So for once, thank you.
Thanks for those emails, guys.
So yeah, if you love puzzles like we do, definitely take a look and see if you can solve it.
All right, break out your bongo drums because next up is Poetry Slam from Mayday Games, which is a game in which you compose poetry, but that's not really the point of the game. Basically, a prompt will come out that makes everyone come up with a word based on a certain prompt. For instance, it could be, it has to start with a certain letter or it has to end with a certain letter. And once everyone has written down that word secretly, then they have to compose a short rhyming couplet that is a clue to the nature of their word. And sort of like Dixit, you don't want to make it too obvious or too obscure. You're going to say it out loud, and you will get points if it is guessed, but you will get fewer points if it is guessed before you can actually finish the poem. So if they can guess it from just the first half, you're out of luck. And everyone kind of has a chance to shout out the answers whenever they want to. You also get scored based on how fast you come up with your word. And there's also tokens I really like, snap tokens, that you get a certain amount each round and you're free to give them out as you please. Actually, I think you have to give them out before the end of the round just because you liked people's poems. So you could get rewarded for just having a really good poem in that way. It sounded like just a fun word game, sort of, like I said, a take on Dixit, but with a word instead. Definitely a good, perhaps, candidate for a lighter party-style game.
Finally, a game where I can wear my beret.
Yeah, exactly. Bring it to an open mic night, see what happens. And it's only $30, so that's Poetry Slam.
If you love all beasts big and small, creepy and or crawly, then Infinite Game Studio is there to help you. They, a while back, did a Kickstarter for a monster manual, and this time they have a new expanded version adding over 800 monsters. So this is a huge monster manual. It's known as Aquila, I think I'm saying that right, Expanded Bestiary of the Realm. They don't have a video for me to practice. But just the idea of having all these monsters for both Pathfinder and Dungeons & Dragons 5e is fantastic. And I know that can be really cool because sometimes you need to find that right monster to really fit that dungeon. Like I know, for example, you used a sandworm. You actually sort of made that.
Right, I kind of modified it from another D&D creature. And
so just knowing you have so many more examples to pull from and maybe give you that one idea like, oh, I didn't think of that. That works perfect in this scenario, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So yeah, this goes for from $25 to $45, like most RPGs, depending for digital, physical versions. Definitely check it out if you'd love to have more beasties at the table.
Those are our picks for this week. I really liked them. We had some good cheap ones this week. I don't think anyone was over like $30, which is nice, except for maybe the hardcover of that one book. But
we'll get to the minis a little bit later.
Yeah, next week we'll have some $200 ones for you guys out there. Hey, let us know if we missed any or what you might have backed this week. Till next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
And this was Kickstarter, Pickstarter.
Hey, if you like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe and like this video for more excellent board game content.
Heck yeah!